Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Lesson 2 in the 3 R's curriculum. As with all of the lessons, we'll start with touching on some of the counseling components that we've built throughout the year. And this lesson begins with building on the career development ideas that we talked about with our students in Lesson 1. So in Lesson 1, we help them think about what their dream career would be. And in Lesson 2, we start to help them think concretely about how do we convert that dream into a goal and what are the steps to get there. So we provide the students a checklist of different activities that they can be working on throughout the year in order to advance towards their career goal. Activities such as taking a career interest assessment, or researching different colleges that they might want to go to, or developing a resume. And so we'll talk to the students about these different tasks, see if any of the students have engaged in any of them yet, and remind them that they want to keep this checklist with them in the folder that we'll keep coming back to throughout the year and see what kind of progress they're making.
And lesson number 2 is entitled No Vehicles in the Park. We have to remember that we are in U.S. government classes, and so our lessons are designed to fit with a government curriculum. And one of the most important things to learn in American government classes are the 3 branches of government, how they interact, how each checks the other. And this lesson really, I think, underscores a lot of what the teachers are working with their students on in U.S. government. It talks about the 3 branches of government and the interplay, particularly in the courts, which is what we bring our expertise to, and how the courts, in a way, make law as a result of their rulings. So, no vehicles in the park. Hypothetical is that a town has passed a law that says there shall be no vehicles in the park. There was a problem. Cars were going and vehicles were going through the park. Citizens complained, so they made the law. They put the signs up, but nowhere did they define what vehicle was. And then the students are presented with a scenario in small group of people that have been given tickets for violating the no vehicles in the park rule. And the students will agree as to who's going to be a prosecutor to prosecute these violators and who's going to defend them. The rest of the students will listen and be jurors and make a decision. So an example is a bike a vehicle. And then one of the scenarios is kids riding their bicycle on this now deserted street, which is what you think you would want a park to do, but they get a ticket. Is a stroller a vehicle? And is that a violation? And as a result of the decisions made by the students in small group about whether these activities violate the law, it brings home to the fact that they are making law, which is common law, and establishing precedent for future cases that come along with similar facts. It does show then and underscore the vital role that the courts play in ruling on laws that are made by the legislative branch, and in this case were actually enforced by the executive branch, which would be the police force under the control of the mayor. So the last thing we leave them with is what might be done to try to take some of the common law and make it less confusing so courts didn't have to intercede, which would be for the legislature to maybe to go back and define what they meant by no vehicles in the park, and that often happens. So basically that is the lesson. This is a lesson we've done for a number of years. Kids absolutely love it. And you have some choice as a 3 R's volunteer as to which of the scenarios you might want to use, because you can't probably do all of them in the time you have allotted. And then we go on to Jeopardy, and this will be the first time you will have played Jeopardy, and you'll have the opportunity, and you'll actually have to give the rules of Jeopardy, which are in the material. Dave, if you want to touch a little bit on Jeopardy.
Yeah, it's certainly this lesson is a fun and engaging lesson for the students to engage with the sometimes somewhat dry concepts of separation of powers, but one of our goals in the program is to help the students with the end of course exam that they're going to need as a part of completing their U.S. government course. And so at the end of each of the lessons we build in a Jeopardy review, which is also a very fun and engaging way to get the students involved in the class, but it reinforces some of the important concepts and vocabulary that we've talked about relating to separation of powers. So make sure time management is always a challenge as you go through the class period, but make sure you leave time at the end in order to preserve this review that really does a great job of re-engaging the students and reinforcing the lessons that they've learned.
Thank you again, and we'll see you when we talk about the next lesson, which is lesson number 3, the First Amendment.